Oh, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Leslie Bohan, and I am going to start the coffee hour today on behalf of our fearless leaders, Daniela and Amina, who are both here, and we will introduce them in just a second. So welcome, everyone, to our intercultural communication coffee hour. So our interest section focuses on intercultural communication and its intersection with English language education. And our mission is to cultivate a critical and reflective discussion on culture studies and interculturality within English language teaching and learning. Our team, we have several team members here today, and actually I'll stop sharing so that some of our team members can introduce themselves if you all don't mind. Daniela, can you start?
Hello. Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Daniela Silva, and I'm co-chair of the Intercultural Communication Intersection with Amina this year, and I'm located in San Antonio, Texas. Amina, I think
Amina,
Amina
are you
cannot
able to
talk.
introduce yourself?
I think she can.
Yes, hello.
Good.
I'm waiting for the bus with my little one. I'm currently connected to you from Aberdeen, Scotland. I'm a co-chair with Daniela and really excited for this workshop and hearing what Nichole has prepared for us.
Melody, do you want to?
Hi everyone, I'm Melanie. I am a Canadian who's in France, and I was in Abu Dhabi for about 10 years, 15 years before that. So I live and breathe intercultural communication and trying to do all of that in French at the moment.
Barbara.
Yeah, hello. I am Barbara Lapornik from Italy. I am a fan of this ICIS. I was also a chair some time ago. Now I'm a member of large, and I wouldn't miss a meeting for nothing.
Josie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Josie Prado from Helena, Alabama, near Birmingham, Alabama, in the United States. And I am post ex-chair. I am ex-chair. I was co-chair with Leslie last year. So.
And Patricia's here. Yay.
Hi, I'm Patricia Moon, and I am in Gainesville, Florida. I'm the Associate Director of the English Language Institute. Right now, I am the newsletter editor, so I'm learning a lot about that process. Thank you.
And Roxana's there. Roxana, do you want to say hi real quick?
Well, hello,
Roxana's
everyone.
a past chair as
Greetings. Yes.
And Michael, would you like to just say hello from you're coming from Brazil, is that right?
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm from Brazil, English teacher. Really excited to be part of this.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And Yunus, would you like to say something? Or Mile, I don't want to put you on the spot unless you would like to say hello.
Yes, hello everyone. Yunus. I have been working as an assistant professor in the Department of English of an university. It's in Bangladesh, in South Asia.
Oh, wonderful.
And I am a lifetime member of Nichole Society of Bangladesh. I feel happy to join here.
Thank you. Wonderful to have
Thank
you.
you.
Okay.
Good.
Anyone else like to? Okay, great.
Maya? Mile is now here.
Yes. Hi, Miles. Nice to see you. Mila?
Yeah. Hello. Well, I'm Mile from Colombia, and I'm working right now with bilingualism and also searching for learning opportunities about plurilingualism and identity. So thank you. It's great to be here.
Wonderful. Thank you. I'm gonna, okay. Let me go back to the sharing. I'm going have to stop sharing in a second to read the introductions, but ICIS is very busy with all kinds of activities. The coffee hour that you're attending today is an informal way for us to get together and talk about issues that are on our heart and in our work. We also have practice-focused and research-focused webinars. We have an upcoming one, which we'll talk about in just a second. We have academic panels, especially at the TESOL International Conference in March. We have lightning talks, which feature recent research, particularly master's and doctoral students and young faculty and young researchers who have some interesting and new research in our field of intercultural communication. We have newsletter issues that come out 2 to 4 times per year, and Patricia Moon is leading that charge. As a matter of fact, we would like to welcome any admissions or submissions that you have. And Patricia, what is the next deadline?
The next deadline is January 29th.
Okay, so that gives us plenty of time to get something in. And any kind of submission would be an interesting lesson plan or a book review or an article or some recent research or summaries of activities. Anything else you want to add, Patricia?
I think you covered that all.
Okay,
Yes.
great.
And look for the new newsletter coming out in the next couple of weeks. So
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Patricia. Okay, ways that you can be active in ICIS. First, you can become a member by being a TESOL International member, and then you join the My TESOL portal and join the ICIS group. You can follow us on social media. There are many ways to do so and catch up on news and know when submissions for the newsletter and other webinars, lightning talks, and coffee hours are upcoming. We have a webinar coming up on January the 14th. As a matter of fact, I will make sure I post this link for everyone to register shortly, but it is Critical Language Pedagogy and English as a Lingua Franca, and it's exploring the potential of this dialogue to decolonize ELT. And this person is coming out of Brazil, so we are very happy to have international visitors because we have our events usually on Zoom or online somehow. This is a way that we've been able to tap in around the world. So we're very happy about this. So we come to our coffee hour, and one of our board members, Nichole McVeigh, who is professor at the University of Richmond, is going to share with us. And I am actually going to share with us her work. And I am actually going to stop sharing for a second so I can read her introduction. So Dr. Nichole McVeigh considers herself a lifelong learner and a dedicated educator with over 25 years of classroom experience. She has taught English, conflict resolution, and grant writing at both Earth University in Costa Rica and Virginia Commonwealth University in the United States. Passionate about peace education, language teaching, and the environment, Dr. McVeigh holds degrees in elementary education, Spanish, TESOL, and peace and conflict studies. Her research focuses on the intersection of language and peace education. She is actively involved in professional development, serving on leadership teams and boards for TESOL and peace education organizations. After a brief respite from the classroom, she is currently serving as adjunct faculty at the University of Richmond and English language specialist with the U.S. Department of State English language programs. She continues to seek opportunities that ignite her passion to make the world a better place and welcomes all types of collaboration projects. So, Nichole, we're very happy to have you. Thank you so much for sharing your ideas with us. And I will open up for you to share your screen so that you can talk with us about your topic. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for the lovely introduction. As this is a coffee hour, I have a picture of a cup of coffee, so feel free to virtually take some coffee while we explore the topic of equity and inclusion through intersectional pedagogy in the TESOL classroom. So I am presenting today on the traditional lands of the Powhatan Confederacy, whose people were living here when the first European settlers came in 1607. I draw my strength from my women ancestors. I am the daughter of Joan Geneva, the granddaughter of Georgia Katechitsanis and Mariana Nikolauska. I come to this coffee hour with an open heart and willingness to listen. I hold degrees, as Leslie said, in elementary education, teaching languages, and peace studies. I'm interested in the intersections of language, peace, and climate education within an intersectional framework. This topic that we're going to explore today came out of my doctoral research, and I am grateful to my doctoral advisor, Heather Curtizia, who directed me to read the literature on intersectionality as a pedagogical framework, which was part of my research here. So in order to foster a safe and inclusive space for all participants today, I ask us to follow some rules of engagement. First, be respectful. Engage in dialogue, not debate. We are going to embrace the power of humble listening and appreciate that every person's voice matters in this space, as well as the stories stay here and our lessons of what we have learned will leave with us. So today we are going to explore answers to two main discussion questions. I say explore because we are not going to find the exact answers, and this is a stepping stone for more lifelong learning. The first is, how can we leverage an intersectional lens to understand the unique needs and experiences of our TESOL students? And the second question is going to be, what pedagogical strategies can promote equity and inclusion within the classroom? So this is what we're going to be focusing on in this coffee hour. So before we engage in discussion, I'd like to briefly outline the intersectional pedagogy model brought forth by Kim Case. Intersectional pedagogy is a methodology of teaching and learning where the inequality and marginalization caused from intersecting social identities are understood, clarified, and interrogated. So one of the other things to consider is that the difference between inclusive pedagogy and intersectional pedagogy. Intersectional pedagogy takes inclusiveness and inclusivity one step further. So both of them are valuable approaches to creating equitable and empowering language classrooms. But intersectional pedagogy builds upon inclusive pedagogy by explicitly addressing the ways in which social identities shape power dynamics and access to opportunities. So what does that really entail? An effective intersectional pedagogical model will teach intersectionality across a wide variety of oppressions. So not only gender and race, but also all the other social identities that are typically neglected in the curriculum. It also aims to uncover invisible intersections. These are analyzing consequences of the privileged and the oppressed. It also includes and acknowledges power and privilege as an essential aspect of learning. Excuse me. It also involves reflection. Reflection is a key part of the pedagogical model, both within the educator as well as the student. So both educator and student within the classroom are going to have personal reflection within this particular model. Another piece of intersectional pedagogy is the promotion of social action. This is to help dismantle the oppression through student learning that extends beyond the classroom. So you're not only learning within the classroom, but you're taking action outside of the classroom. And this hopefully would be seen through service learning, through projects outside in the community, and also ally action for social change. Another key aspect of this model is the valuing of the voices. And that's why when I had the rules of the engagement, I prefaced it is that every voice matters. And typically, the voices of the marginalized and oppressed are not heard. And this particular model is hoping to amplify and allow all voices to be heard. And then finally, the last aspect of an intersectional pedagogy model is that this should be across the curriculum. And this is one, it's why it's the last one, because this is the most difficult, where using an intersectional pedagogical model can kind of both a wide variety of disciplines. So transdisciplinarity is the goal, and to help bring about this into the different variety of disciplines within a classroom and within the school as well. So that would be seen in all aspects of learning. So this is just a very brief overview of intersectional pedagogy model. I will, at the end of this coffee hour, give you some resources for you to look into it a little bit more. We also are going to be kind of dissecting this and taking this apart and seeing what this means to you, what this means to our students, and what this means to how we approach the classroom. Okay, so let me see here. We are going to have some small group breakout time. A coffee hour is very interactive, so hopefully you have your mug of some point of drink, and I'm going to be bringing a scenario where we're going to talk about this and in small groups, and then bring us together to kind of unpack and talk about the different layers that were discussed in smaller groups. So I see it looks like we have 17 participants. Okay. So what we're going to do, just make myself smaller. I am going to give you a scenario, and I'm going to copy and paste that into the chat so that you have it once you get into the breakout room, where we're going to look at this incident. It is a very general incident where equity and inclusion were compromised in a learning environment. And what I want you to do in your small groups is just think about what are some solutions that we could do to address the issues. What are some additional strategies that may be not mentioned there. And then we'll come back to the whole group and share. Okay, so does that sound like a plan? Let's see here. And okay, the scenario is, yeah. So the scenario here is that you have an English language class with students from diverse cultural and linguistic backgrounds. And I realize that that is not always the case, but for this scenario, it will be. The teacher, while well-intentioned, primarily uses a teaching style that relies heavily on examples and references to American culture, which many of the English language learners are unfamiliar with. This creates challenges for these learners who struggle to understand the cultural nuances and context of the lessons. Additionally, the teacher sometimes uses humor that relies on cultural references or slang or idiomatic expressions. And then this also can be confusing or even offensive to students from different cultures. So this is the scenario. I pasted it in the chat because once we get into the breakout rooms, you'll be able to see this chat, the scenario in the chat. And I will give you 10 minutes to discuss it with your partners. What's going on here? What are some of the things using this intersectional pedagogy model that I put, and what I could also do is copy and paste that into the chat as well to help you. And then we'll report back in 10 minutes, okay? And if you need me, if you have any questions, you all have done these types of things before, I think. You could just, there is a call button and I can pop it in for you, okay? Right. Breakout rooms. Okay, the rooms are opened. So if you then join.
Hello, Daniela.
Hello.
Hi, Daniela. How are you doing?
Good, good, good. And Carrie? Carrie?
Yes, doing okay. I was explaining to Josie I'm actually home, not 100% today, fighting a little cough, but thought I'd still jump in for some learning. Got my hot beverage, so.
That's good. That's good. Wow.
And so, Carrie, from your back, your screen back there, it looks like you teach in the public schools. Is that right?
I do, yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm in curriculum and instruction, but yes.
You're in like a university or?
So in the curriculum instruction office, where
Okay. Got it. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
How about you?
I'm a teacher educator. I live in Alabama. I work at the University of Alabama at Birmingham, and my focus, I'm a teacher preparator for English learners rather for teachers. Preparing teachers to work with English learners. I'm doing.
Thank goodness. Send plenty to Virginia. Yeah. We are all competing to get the same folks. So.
Yeah. Exactly. Daniela.
Yeah. And I do pretty much what Josie does as well. I'm a teacher educator, but I work in Texas at the University of Texas at San Antonio, and I prepare teachers to teach multilingual learners, all students, but especially multilingual learners.
Yes, great. All right, so we got 10 minutes. So we have a well-meaning teacher in a classroom with a variety of people, and she is unwittingly referring to U.S. culture and slang and cultural references that are either like unfamiliar or offensive. So I have not yet heard of intersectional pedagogy. I was actually buying the book while she was talking, so
yeah,
I didn't entirely pay attention. But yeah, but it sounds like a more active version. Well, anyway, we don't have much time. All right. So, what are our solutions and strategies? We're going to have to report back. So, what are we going to say?
Well,
okay. You go. You go. Go.
I was just wondering, I wonder what that looked like in the moment, what kind of feedback the babies were giving her, or I think it was her, in that moment, especially in a classroom where there might be students that are more or less familiar with culture, and if they're kind of cluing her in, or what that feedback looks and feels like. I remember one time, so I actually come from teaching French once upon a time, and I can remember the first time my baby was in the classroom and we're doing an activity with weather. And this child was from the Philippines, and all of a sudden she whispers to me and she said, "I don't know what the weather does here in spring."
Oh.
And but should keep it on the QT, right? But what she was really telling me was, I don't have enough prior knowledge to be successful with this.
Right.
I'd like to be. Could you help me? And I imagine that that's what those kids are giving as well. Like, I don't quite, hello. I wonder if they're kind of giving that same hint. Like, I don't quite know what to do with this, but I'd like to do something with it.
That is such a great story, Carrie. Hey, Kate, how are you? Hey.
I'm great. I'm sorry I'm late. It's been a weird morning, as you can well imagine, and everything seems to be off. It's like we went into a completely different fractured dimension. So everything is off back home here. So I knew I was going to come in and see everybody and chat, and I was so looking forward to it. And I was like, I've got time. And then I looked, oh no, and I ran to my computer. So my apologies. It's good to see all of you.
Yes, likewise, likewise. So Carrie had given a really good example of something that happened to her. And, it's funny because I hadn't considered student feedback. Kate, I don't know how familiar you are with our task at hand, but we've got a well-meaning teacher who is sort of excluding some kids through cultural references and whatnot. And Carrie had talked about student feedback, right? Which would be great. I wonder if, so I'm just thinking about how to report back to that. If we were to use that, it would, I don't know. So that would, it kind of depends on the kid. So I'm not sure it's a strategy, right?
Right. No, I that's why I'm wondering. It's why I wish you could see it, right? Like what the reaction.
Sure.
Because if the feedback from the kids is, well, this doesn't really land well, then probably that's maybe something the teacher would already be working to change. I would hope.
definitely
Exactly.
noticing it is a big deal, right, on the part of the teacher. So if the teacher's cluing in on the fact that there's a disruption, and we have these intuitions, right? That there's something wrong, that the students, there's this disconnect or dissonance or something. When the teacher's cueing in on that and aware of it, then I think, and if the person is reflective, they might be able to be like, okay, let me problem solve this. And talking to students, and I do that, on the side. How are things? I noticed this. Is this a sign of anything? Can you talk to me about it? Give me feedback. So, anyway, I think that a teacher would probably be looking at that kind of thing, but I really don't know the task at hand. So I hope this is helpful to the conversation, germane to the conversation.
Yeah, I think like the teacher could ask the students, like we have this and we have this teacher use a lot of references from American culture, whatever American culture is, but an American ask the students what they think about it. They have seen something different from that, or how is that back home if they have the students from a different country, and try to trace parallels of differences, similarities, and try to understand the reason why things happen differently.
I was at the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire, and they had a saying there that teachers shouldn't rely on the students to teach them about their cultures. It's incumbent upon the teacher to be doing the investigation. And I'm not saying you're wrong.
Hey. Welcome. And I hope I gave you enough time to unpack this particular scenario. And what we're first going to do is look at the discussion questions that I posed in the beginning of this coffee hour and have the opportunity to share what you all discussed in this breakout session. So the first thing, and I'm going to just show you, here's the slide. We're going to share. We are going to discuss how we should address this scenario, and then we're going to use the intersectional model to reflect. Okay. And I'm going to stop sharing because I like to see you all. Okay. So in the chat, I've put the discussion questions to follow. So the first thing that we want to think about in this scenario is how can we leverage an intersectional lens? So to help understand the needs and experiences of our TESOL students. And using this particular scenario, I welcome you to share. And you could either unmute if you prefer to raise your hand, that is fine. Leslie.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm having problems with my laptop. So about that particular question, our group, we had a wonderful group, and we were right in the middle of getting things talked about, and we had to go, but that's okay. But about changing the lesson plans, right at the very end, we started talking about really getting to know the students, that it is on the teachers to get to know the students and to ask questions about background and community and how they identify, things like that. And so perhaps maybe a questionnaire ahead of time could start that process of learning about your students and having their backgrounds come into the lesson plan. That's when we got cut off, but that was.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely a good strategy that can help help you as the educator to kind of teach with that intersectional lens, and also to have the students feel welcomed. Yes. Yes, Kate, I'm okay with that.
Fine with me, Kate.
Anybody else? Did anybody else come up with how we should understand, how should we approach this particular scenario?
Nichole, can I ask a favor? I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Kate.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Could you put the model up since I walked in a little late? I want to make sure I'm on task. So if you wouldn't mind putting that slide up, it would really help me. Thank you.
It's actually two different slides because I can so much, but I could let's see here. So just as a brief overview while you all are thinking, is that the intersectional model addresses the variety of levels of oppression that the students come with, as well as their invisible intersections that we might not see. It analyzes power and privilege. It also welcomes the reflection of both students as well as the teacher. In addition, it focuses on social action outside of the classroom, values the voices of the people who are typically marginalized and not heard, and it ideally is spread across the curriculum. And I have the keywords also in the chat. So Roxana, you were about to say something.
Okay, sure. So in our team, in our breakout room, we also talk about that maybe one size does not fit all. And we would love to know how old are these students? Are they high school? Are they college? Are they middle school? Because sometimes it does matter. For example, lastly shared, we discussed doing a quick maybe survey or asking students about their identities. So we'll have to consider language, right? How are we languaging about these sociocultural identities? We also talk about, because you brought up the model, and reflection is a key element. So I suggested that it is important for teachers to be aware that we, in our daily practice, have to engage in reflective practice, right? So, and part of that is thinking, what did I do? How did things go? What did students think about that? And we can always ask for some feedback. When we know our audience, we know who is in our classroom, and it could be very simple, informal, because we talk about in our group that students might feel uncomfortable sharing, depends again on the context, culture, identities. But we can ask for very simple feedback, such as maybe an index card, right? Or using any kind of online platform. Which examples or what we've discussed, what has been helpful, what helps you understand new concepts, or what have you learned? And then another question we can ask would be, what was confusing? What was challenging? What kind of examples would you like to see? What kind of examples you would like to hear? I think students can provide these ideas. And then as teachers, as faculty, that brings that awareness to us. And in our team, we also talk about that we have to be, Veronica said, teachers have to be willing to do it, because sometimes we feel maybe kind of, uncomfortable, because that may not necessarily always be good feedback that we are getting. So, but reflection is one of the critical components in our practice, right? So we have to think about one size does not fit all. So it could be formal or less formal, or just simply that exit ticket that you can do even when you teach middle school class. So that's what we discuss in our team. in our group.
Yeah. No, that you've all brought up that all important points. Feedback is key. Making, and depending upon the age of the students, it could easily be a happy face, a sad face, if that's that kind of, I saw that Kate was talking about taking the temperature. And you also brought a good point about the teacher that herself and himself, is that they need to recognize who they are first in order to understand and bring to the learning environment a safe and comfortable space. So that is definitely something that needs to be addressed before you are comfortable enough to do that. Yeah. Anybody else before we go into the second?
I can report if Melanie, okay, and who was with us?
Patricia.
Yeah, Patricia. Thank you. Sorry, Patricia. So we were all talking a little bit about, kind of the strategies that we know or that we have used, and so certainly, the first thing we should ask is which is the teacher's talking time, okay, in respect to the student's talking time. Probably, the scenario talks about a teacher that is very well intentional, but probably uses his or her own culture without thinking that it is so unknown, okay, or might be so unknown in detail, to the students that he faces. So a kind of culture contrast technique could be also used. In our culture, this means this. How do you say this, or how do you live in, or how do you comment in your own culture? Though, okay, sometimes, facing differences, among the teachers that students have, it can also be beneficial because it augments the strategies of the students, okay, with single teachers. So, in a class, that has more subjects, etc., even if one teacher is less clear, maybe, by the students comparing, this teacher to others, might also be, even if, negative, it might be also beneficial. And of course, students should be taught or discussed with, or, informed about clarification strategies. Okay, how can they ask, we haven't understood, or it's not exactly, what we somehow, are used to. So this grossly, okay, though we're not so sure if it is Kim Case's model that, includes also this.
Yeah. Kate, you had your hand raised.
Thank you for giving me some background to be able to participate fully. And I'm sorry, Roxana, I interrupted you. I didn't know your name was called. So I have 3 points, and one of them is related to what Barbara said, and that is, culturally, if somebody's coming into another culture, and we recognize that in some cultures, teachers' words are really valued and they're respected. And so students might not give the feedback to the teacher that the teacher really wants. So explicitly welcoming that kind of feedback and explaining that this is kind of the norm for this classroom, right? It might not be the norm for other places, but let's create a classroom norm where we can share feedback together. Without changing what is a perceptual difference in status, right? But to enhance their learning and make it a strategy to enhance their learning, as opposed to here's a culture shift that you have to engage in. The next thing I wanted to say was that I've been working on a project with a couple of people, and I'm really excited about it. We're trying to get an article published on it right now, and we're flipping the idea of culture and instruction. So we're finding out what the students want to convey about their home cultures. And that's the basis for the instruction. So what is we call them a lot wisdom traditions, but it's what is something important within one's own home culture that that you want to share to the world, and how can we facilitate the learning of English for you to be able to do so? So it really flips that script. I'm Leslie. Right now, I'm in the U.S., but I've taught all over the place. I've taught in Qatar, I've taught in Ukraine, I've taught in Peru, I've taught. I'm going to Cameroon on Saturday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I've been all over the place. So yeah, going into these different contexts, I think it's so valuable to find out what's important to the learners to convey, and then share that outward. Now I've already forgot my third point, so I'll just turn over the floor. Oh, getting old.
Okay, I liked the point that you made about what we essentially are doing in our classroom is creating our own culture, our own community. And so giving that learning environment space to create, for instance, what I did here in the beginning is the rules of engagement, or some type of a contract and having agency in understanding what is expected in that classroom, how to behave and all that. And that again is opening up the space so that the students there can feel included. Yeah. So we're almost running out of time. We were thinking about some pedagogical strategies that also can be used. We talked, I think some of us have mentioned a lot of these pedagogical strategies. What were some other pedagogical strategies that we have not talked about when we were answering our first question that you may want to share right now? Are there any other pedagogical strategies we can think about, what we can bring into the classroom to help our students and ourselves?
I wanted to, this is Kate had mentioned this, and I think she talked about it, her second point about having wisdom stories. I think about them also as testimonials. And so it's a way to, as she said, flip the script, and you empower the student to share something meaningful from their lives. And you can, I think it's helpful to frame it, of course. And so, you can frame it around literature, you can frame it around the context of your class, but that way, and I think the teacher should participate, as teachers also have the same, right? So teachers are not immune or above it, right? We should be part of it.
Definitely, Josie. To Prince Tatang, you said that you had wanted to share something, but now I don't see you. Oh, there you are. Okay, see you now.
All right. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be once again connected. Now, not to abuse of our time, I hope my voice is clear now, because before now it was not clear, right? Okay. So I led a discussion on discovering my grade 10 and 11 learners had an issue in because they are of the French speaking region. They had an issue in understanding English because I chose to use the direct translation method. And on discovering that they had an issue, I decided on giving them a diagnostic test. I decided to come to the front of the classroom and simulated an exercise, an acting exercise where I wanted them to see a problem. And once they understood that there was a problem, I now shared them the approach I was using and gave them the reason why I'm using that approach. And I was some sort of at their fore, and I told them to feel free to pose their problems as if they are talking to their friend. So I became their friend and no longer their teacher. I became their friend, and they were able to feel free in that context. And they said so much, but they didn't forget the rule that even though I was their friend, I was their teacher. They felt so free, and we were able to come out with a problem. And I shared them into groups. On sharing them into groups, and I decided to like give the ones who had some who were shy some roles, active roles. And when they were reporting in the class like a news club, I saw that the cultures could merge. The cultures actually merge, not could merge. Their cultures actually merge, and were able to move forward than before. So if we stand and model and facilitate and allow our learners to sometimes give us to understand our motive and our raison d'etre, we'll succeed better. That's what I'm thinking.
And that's definitely part of that reflective process, in that we are constantly thinking about what we can do and how we can adjust and change our instruction to benefit and have our learners be successful, because that's what it's all about, is really wanting our students to feel empowered, as well as being successful and achieving what they intend to achieve. Thank you so much for sharing. Okay, well, we are really close to running out of time. I do want to share one thing that one of the things that is part of intersectional pedagogy is action. And let's see here. Okay, how am I? Okay, you guys are blocking me. Okay, there we go. So, as an action plan, I would like to encourage you to write an email to yourself and think about 3 main pedagogical strategies that you are going to commit to do to help our students in the classroom. If you are not in the classroom, you may want to think about how you approach your research with an intersectional lens, and give yourself 3 to 6 months to do that, and check in with yourself after. For more agency, sometimes we might need that. You could also copy me on that, and we can check in with each other for 3 to 6 months. And then by writing it down, I find that I am a list maker. I like to write things down. It makes it a little bit more real. And then together you can see how putting these ideas into practice can be a real empowering experience for you. So this is my contact information. And I have my phone number. I'm on WhatsApp. I am on Signal. I am also on LinkedIn. And you can contact me through email. And I thank you all. And if anyone has any other questions or comments, I am open to collaboration. As of right now, I am very free and open.